All right, so we are going to kick off with our cutter demo, we're going to call this one, but basically a short and sharp zoom to show you some of the basic functions of the Thermomix and our brand new cutter. So first thing that we're going to make tonight is going to be a pizza dough. Pizza dough is one of the absolute staples and probably very basic things that you need to make at some point if you have a Thermomix. If you are gluten-free or celiac and you're not able to tolerate the gluten, there are plenty of different options as well. But if standard pizza is something that you yourself or your household enjoys, you must try this at least at some point in your Thermomix time. So I am just using our recipe platform called Cookie Doo. Is anybody not familiar with Cookie Doo? Pop it into the chat box if you're not. It is something we can touch on throughout. Most of you guys have a Thermomix and you are familiar with it. If you're not, you can have a look at it. Type it into Google, cookiedoo.com.au. It is basically a giant recipe platform for all things Thermomix. We've got over 80,000 recipes on there globally, and you've got everything from doughs to fermented food and slow cookers and all sorts of things, everything you can do on your Thermomix. It's a very, very cool platform. So I have just found these on the app on my phone and I hit cook today. That means that they're sitting right here on my meal plan. I don't have to go looking for them on my Thermomix. If I just touch it there on the screen, you can't see my screen, fantastic, but that is the pizza dough recipe that pops up. If I scroll down, all of my ingredients and everything is listed here just as though I was looking at a cookbook. And, whoops, and when I press start, it's going to take me right into the very first steps, just like any recipe will. So the first thing we're going to do with this one is lightly grease a bowl and set it to the side. So if you've done dough work before, that is going to be your very first step, is oil a bowl or grease a bowl. If you have Thermomat, again, this is just an added accessory. If you wish to get it, you don't have to get one with a Thermomix. This is a Thermomat, basically a giant silicone mat. And this is just going to work instead of a bowl for us to pop our dough onto once we get our dough out of the Thermomix. So first thing we need for this one is about 220 grams of lukewarm water. Now, if you're not familiar with a Thermi already, everything in the Thermomix goes off weight because it has the inbuilt scales. So I'm now on the other side. 220 grams of lukewarm water. I've just pulled this out of the tap. It's at about 37 degrees. The scales are on here, and as I pour it in, it's going to weigh it in. So I don't need a measuring cup or anything like that here. The Thermomix scales will take all the heavy lifting out of that, and I can just tip it straight on in. I hit next. It's going to take me right through to the next step in this recipe. So for this one, I'm going to need a little bit of raw sugar. Does anybody on here know why you might put raw sugar or sugar of any kind into a dough or anything with yeast? If you've done any bread work before, you make this sort of thing at home, you'll probably know. If you do, come off mute and let us know, or pop it into that little chat box. I'll tell you why in a minute if nobody else answers. Sugar feeds the yeast. Love it. Yes. So it isn't something you have to do. If you prefer to leave sugar out or you're trying to reduce the sugar in your household, you could certainly leave the sugar out in this step. But it feeds the yeast and it helps promote it. So you can see my little yeast container is getting pretty low. I've had it for a little while, and I also take it with me around to all of my demos and things. So it has a pretty tough life, my poor yeast, and a little bit of sugar just helps to get it going a bit quicker. And get this dough proofing and everything working the way that it should. All right, so 20 seconds now. You might be able to see here on my screen slightly, I have 3 circles. This is the Thermomix working off a time, a temperature, and a speed. So right now it is just mixing together, mimicking what you'd be doing in a mixing bowl, just mixing your yeast, your sugar, and your water all together so that you are, so that it's a nice, smooth consistency, getting that yeast nice and incorporated into the warm water, that everything can work. And it just looks like that. All right. So pretty basic so far. Now we're going to put in about 400 grams of a baker's flour. So this is slightly different to your normal self-raising or plain flour. Has a little bit more gluten in it, and it's a bit of a stronger flour. So it goes much nicer for your pizza doughs, for your breads and things like that. It will give you a better shape and a better texture. I actually mix mine with a little bit of just plain wholemeal flour. I love that with a Thermomix, I can adjust the quantities. I can add different flavors and grains and nutrients in. So that's what I tend to do. I just put in a scoop of wholemeal. Nobody knows, but it's sneaking those little whole grains in there for the rest of the family. Again, my scales do all the work here. So there's no measuring cups. Everything goes off weight. And now we need a little bit of oil, about 30 grams. Again, the scales are going to weigh that all in for me. All right. A little bit of salt. About a teaspoon. If you're a measurer, you can measure. If you're not a measurer, you don't have to. You cook your way. Now, prompting me to put my lid on now, and this is going to need, sorry, if you haven't seen this much before, the Thermomix moves around a little bit when it kneads. What it does is virtually mimics a kneading sensation that you'd be doing with your hands. So it is tossing the dough up, letting it settle, back up again, letting it settle, and mimicking that same sort of movement. That might sound unbelievable if you have never seen a Thermomix before. How on earth can a Thermomix do that? It can't, right? How does it knead? You just wait till you see the dough come out of this. It is absolutely perfect dough every single time. It is pretty exciting. All right, so I'm going to use this in a second. This is just something I wanted to use tonight and show you. It's a green spatula. You might have seen these, you might not have. They're new to the mix shop. They work exactly the same as the old grey spatulas, but they're just a different colour. So if you like some different things, or if you're needing to update your spatula, you can grab these from the mix shop. Now, the other thing that I'm going to be using in a second is our new vacuum seal system. So something that we are really passionate about with Thermomix is sustainability. We're really passionate about the environment. We hate waste. We want to reduce waste wherever we can. And this is a little system that we have been coming up with for a while. So if you haven't checked out the mix shop before, have a look at the mix shop. You can set yourself up an account and you can put your consultant in as your consultant. And there is a massive store there. It's a huge online shop now. It used to only have a few things in there. Now you can buy just about everything in terms of kitchenware. It is really cool. But something that we have developed are these new vacuum containers. They're called a vacuum seal. So last year we played around with some different vacuum seal bags and things like that. We were never very happy with the quality of the products. So we just went ahead and made our full own range. So these are the mix shop. This is one container. We have a couple of different sizes and there are more and more on the horizon. And then you can get a wand that goes with it, a vacuum seal wand. I'll show you how it works in a minute, but basically just pop that on the top, suck all of the air out, and this is your vacuum sealed container. So I have my meat in here for the stir fry. Now, when you vacuum seal a marinated meat, it speeds up that marinade time. So instead of needing a 12-hour or 24-hour marinade, that's going to marinate in about an hour, which is perfect for me because the way I usually cook, the way I've cooked again tonight, is 7 o'clock. What am I going to do? Oh, quick, I'll throw it in now. I don't have 12 or 24 hours to marinate something because I've forgotten, I've left it too late. So this speeds up that process and just gives me that faster cooking, but still with that great tasting and great result at the end every time. All right, so my dough is finished now. It is just telling me to transfer it into that oiled bowl, or in this case, onto my mat. You might be able to see that there. Beautiful dough. I'm just going to pull it all out. You can see there, that bowl is almost clean. So usually something like a sticky dough is a bit of a nightmare to do in the kitchen. It is so messy. It gets all over your hands. Gets over, if you have a mix master or something with the dough hook, you get this messy dough hook that's a nightmare to clean at the end of it. All of that gets taken away with the Thermomix, and it has a self-cleaning mode as well. So if you do get stuck or you do have a mess at the end, you can pop it on there, let it do a pre-clean, and it just makes that cleaning process so much nicer. So that is our pizza dough, all done. Now, in this case, if I click on here, it's going to tell me to cover this in plastic wrap and leave this now for an hour or so, relatively warm, so it can prove up nice. In this case, I'm just going to wrap this in the mat. The beauty of these mats are that they are made of silicone, but they also have fibers in them to help insulate the heat. So this dough is a little bit warm already because we started with lukewarm water, and then we gave it that 2-minute knead. It all got a little bit warm. So this is going to keep that warmth wrapped in and help this to proof nice and quick. If I was to be making pizzas tonight, I'd leave this for an hour or so. Then I'd be rolling out those pizza bases and popping them straight into the oven. In this case, I'm actually going to pop mine into the fridge and I'll make something with it tomorrow. So that putting it into the fridge and lowering that temperature is going to slow down the proof. If I leave this out at room temperature, it'll burst out of this and it will grow everywhere, and then it will just be flat and no good by the morning. So popping it in the fridge will just slow that down, and it'll be lovely to pull out in the morning. I'll let it warm back up to room temperature and I can turn it into its pizzas then. So that is our basic dough. What are your thoughts so far? Was there anything there that surprised you? Did you learn anything new? Have you all made pizza dough? Will any of you go and try it? Pop it into the chat box. All right, while you're doing that, pizza's your most made item. I love that. It's not far off on mine either, Beck. It's always getting used. All right, what we might do is start our sticky chili beef, because this takes a little while to cook. So I'm going to get this one started. Now, I've already started the marinade. So the first steps of this recipe are just to get the marinade on and started. I've already done this. So I'm going to click straight into my recipe, already halfway through, and get going where it's at now. So for this case, I need about 10 grams of sesame oil. I'm going to use my olive oil again, but if you want to use sesame oil or whatever flavored oil you'd like. And now I'm going to pop in my marinated steak and marinade. So I'm going to seal this for you in a second, just so you can see it done for yourself. But this is just a little valve. So when I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but you actually pull this sort of to the side and it will release all of the air so that I can get it out. There we go. You might have been able to hear that through Zoom. And then I can unclip it and pull it out. So when it comes to sealing it, there's a little ring here in the middle. If I just stick the wand over the top, this little white bubble will suck in once it's ready. If I click this and get it started, you might be able to hear that going. It's sucking all the air out. When it's ready, that little one there will pop in. Make sure the sides are clicked in. That'll pop in. And that indicates to me that all the air is sucked out and it is sealed. There we go. Can lift this off now, and it is all vacuum sealed. You can see that little notch has gone in there. Now these rings actually have a number behind them. I imagine it would be hard to see on Zoom, but these are actually numbers. So what I can do is basically set a date on these. Actually move the rings around and set them so that I have a date on the top of this as to when I vacuum sealed it. depending on what you're wanting to store, that can be a really, really handy tool as well. All right, I'm going to let the air out of this one and pop my meat in. Now, the reason I'm showing you this little vacuum seal system today is that it is currently a little gift that you can get when you get a Thermomix. It's on until the end of January. We sometimes do a little gift with purchase where you can pick yourself up an extra really cool little goodie when you get your Thermomix, and that is what we currently have on offer. So I'm just ensuring this meat is evenly around the blade. That's what I'm instructed to do here. Now I pop my lid on and I need my splash guard, which is just here. All right, splash guard on. And this just protects any hot splashes coming out of the top of oil. And there we go. So 5 minutes, I'm just going to brown that beef off. I'm going to move my vacuum seal contraption over here. And we're going to start to play around with this little cutter. All right. So slide that one back there out of the way. Let it go. Double check this chat box. Beautiful. All right. What questions do you have about the cutter, or what do you most want to see done with the cutter while I'm setting it up? Nothing? No one's here to see it? How thin can it slice? Okay, I like it. So I'm just going to set a second machine up here. I wasn't going to worry, but with time, I think I will. Otherwise, we're going to be here quite late. So I'm going to set this one up here, and you guys can see the cutter in action on this one. All right, what else? Come through with some examples. I've only got a carrot and a zucchini out on the bench. What other things I can pull out? Let me know what you want to see. I can do onion if that's something that you guys want to see. Grated cheese. Yep, what else? Now, this side, you might be able to see from here, this is your chop side, and it gives you a little indication here, a small chop, a big chop, depending on if you go reverse or go straight. And then if you go this way up, you've got slice. So they've got slices here, and then you're going, again, thin or thick, depending on what way that you go. So I'm going to click that. Got to remember. There we go. Now, give you a little example. It's going to use half a zucchini. Now, at this stage, we don't have a mode for this. We just got to use it manually. But a mode is coming very soon, I believe, over the next couple of days, and you'll actually have a little slicer mode. There'll be an extra little addition down here. You'll be able to click on that one and select that grate or slice, and whether you want it thick or thin, and do it that way. But for now, if I just hit home and I'm going to go around to speed 4, the same as your butterfly would work, it is literally like a food processor. So pop it in the top, pop it down, and that is it. I'm going to show you what that looks like, and then we might go from there with experimenting with some different things. So that's just a slice, a thick slice of zucchini. Pretty quick. Yeah. So for our sticky chili beef, I want some zucchini cut like that. That's going to go perfect in my stir fry. And I want to put a carrot in as well. I'm going to do these two things ready to go in our stir fry. And then we can do some other things with a thinner one as well, so you can see the thinner cut as well. If I just go here to 4 again, this time I'm going to do the whole carrot. Just like a food processor. It is pretty awesome. And there is a carrot. Again, cut. It is super quick, isn't it? Cut pretty thick, ready for a stir fry. This is the part that I hate about a stir fry, is cutting all the veggies up. So this is an absolute game changer. And this is dirty, my bowl isn't. So I don't need to worry. All right, how big a potato can you put in there? So the deal with this is that they need to fit down the chute of the top. So you can't go putting huge big potatoes in there. They won't work. A bit like a food processor. If it doesn't fit in the hole, you can't put it down. So when we used it up at Warhope, we bought, Tennille might remember what they're called, but they're like a small chat potatoes. You can buy the chat potatoes. They're a great size for the blade cover wave peeler if you want to peel them in there, but they're the perfect size. We popped them. They all fit in here. I don't think we had to cut any in half at all. And they just sliced up like that. So we had about 30 seconds and we had a whole dish of potato ready for potato bake. And it has a bit to hold the carrot in place. Yep. So it has a little dual chute there as well. All right. So before we play around too much, we're going to have more time for playing in a minute. Our beef has just finished browning off. So now we're going to transfer this to a bowl. I have a Thermomix server here ready to go. This is another thing that we do when they're called thermo servers. Don't have to have them, but they do make your life easier. You can see that there. We've got our beautiful browned off beef. And I'm just going to pop this into here. The lovely marinade, nice, juicy, browned off beef. While it was happening, we were chopping everything else up. All right. Now, if I press next, this is going to prompt me now. Put my lid on this and keep it nice and warm. All right. This is now going to prompt us to put in our 300 grams of mixed vegetables for stir frying. So you're wanting to have these obviously cut up in a manner ready for stir frying. I have got some broccoli that I've just broken up into florets. I'm doing a bit of a fridge clean out, so I'm going to throw in a handful of those as well. And then I'm going to pop in all of these veggies that we've just chopped up in our slicer till we get to about 300. That's going to take all of this. Perfect. All right. So now we need a little bit more oil in this one. And that's going to be our dinner. Will be just about done in these couple of steps. We're going to put our lid on top. Now, this step, depending on how long you've been around Thermomix for, this now is calling for a steaming basket on the top. With everything, safety is always a very key point, very, very important to us. Last year, throughout some of our recipe development testing and through Vor work, we discovered that you can, with some of these TM6 measuring cups, there is a potential for some a film to basically come up while it is cooking above 95 degrees, and it potentially become a bit of a pressure cooker situation. So nothing happened, nobody got burnt, no one got hurt, but it was seen that there was a potential for it to happen. So we've made a slight tweak to some of our recipes where we're now using a simmering basket on the top whenever you're cooking there at above 95 degrees. So if you're seeing this in some of the recipes and you didn't hear about it when it was all announced, that is what's going on with it. And it is just that slight change just popping your simmering basket on the top instead of using a measuring cup, all just there in the name of safety, to make sure that everyone, no potential things can go wrong with your Thermomix in your kitchen. So our simmering basket is on there, and those veggies are going to cook off now for another few minutes. Now, over on this one, I'm going to grab out what other examples do we have here in the chat. Potato, sliced strawberries or apples, cauliflower, grated cheese, onion. How thin can it slice? All right. What might be easiest is I'm going to grab another carrot. The carrot's a nice good one to demonstrate a couple of different cuts. So, first of all, I'll do a carrot thin. So doing the same slicing as what we just did, but I'll just show you how thin we can go. So in order to do a thin cut, whoops, you guys can't see, here we are, back to the cutter. In order to do a thin cut, we just hit reverse, and that's what the difference between a thick and a thin slice is going to be. I'm going to go again, round here to speed 4. I haven't tried anything like salami yet, Kay. So I can't tell you how it's going to go. That's something I'm going to very keen to experiment with, things like salami and bacon. All right, this is our carrot. I've only used veggies so far. And you can see this well on Zoom, but paper thin. Can you guys tell how thin that is through there? Salami might get a bit jammy, yeah. There'll be lots of discovering, and once all our consultants have them, we all start to play with them. I'm sure that there's going to be little tricks and hacks and things like that that we'll be coming up with in ways to cut different things, and maybe some things might need to be partially frozen or something like that. We'll come up with lots of different ways of how to get things to work best. But at this stage, we are really all in the experimenting phase. We're only just getting them today and tomorrow. So some of those questions I just don't know about. But that is our carrot. So wafer thin. You can imagine for something like shaved Parmesan, this would be absolutely perfect. That paper thin, you can almost see through it. We have a new dish that has been developed particularly to showcase these. I'm just looking for a little bowl here. And it is pickles. So it does both a thick slice and then a thin slice of things like radishes as well. So again, that's going to be one that we'll all be practicing very soon now that we're getting our cutters, and we'll be able to show you what that one looks like too. All right, so that's our thin slice there. Now, our Thermomix is so super quick over here that our sticky chili beef is almost finished cooking while we're having fun with the cutter. So our veggies have cooked over here, and now we need to put our reserve sauteed beef back in again. This has been sitting over there, keeping nice and warm. I'm just going to tip it all back in the bowl. We're going to put our splash guard back on again because we're going to brown it off. Finish browning that meat off. And that's got another 3 minutes over there. All right, now, we've got a few minutes. So far you've just seen one side. You've just seen the slicing side. We've sliced thick, we've sliced thin. What we can also do with this now is pull it off and turn it up the other way. So that was on the dark side. Now we're going on to this light side where we're going to be chopping. So, grating. I've got my other half of the carrot here, and same thing. So I'm going to go thick on going forward on speed 4. I'll show you what that looks like. And then I'll do one, I'll hit reverse and show you what the thinner one looks like as well. So that is like a longer shredded carrot. That makes sense? So a bit thicker. And then I'm going to this time hit reverse. Bring this one down. This time I'm going to hit reverse. Pop a whole carrot in now. Speed 4 again. And we have our grated carrot. See down the side here. This is beautiful, fine grated carrot. See how that's those long shreds. They're not small and chopped up like we usually see in the Thermomix. That's some beautiful, nice, long shredded bits of carrot. So there are two sort of thicknesses you can see in there. You got the thicker cut here. It's obviously going to look a little bit different depending on the texture of your veggies. And then you've got your thinner shreds over this side of it. Does that give you a bit of an indicator of what you can do?
Yep.
Yeah, a few little things. So it really is now a matter of us experimenting with it. I'm sure both myself, Tennille, all the other guys in our team, we're all going to be popping up photos and videos and things that we are all chopping up and slicing and grating as we all discover. And our consultant community, Australia-wide and New Zealand, is currently just buzzing with, as everyone is getting their hands on them today. The very first ones are arriving today. They are just buzzing with, what can we try? Let's try this. Let's try that. How does it work with this? So there will be so much more information, so many new things that will be announced over the coming weeks as we all learn the best way to use these and all really get the hang of them. All right, our sticky chili beef is done. How cool is that? Cooked dinner, hands-free while we're doing something else. This is what I love about a Thermomix. If you haven't made this one and you've got yourself a TM6, you have to try it. It is absolutely delicious. That marinade is only 3 ingredients. It's a bit of honey, some soy sauce, and a little bit of tomato sauce. It's a really, really simple marinade, but it is absolutely delicious. I'm going to grab my thermo server and I'm going to put this out so you guys can have a little look as I do. I don't have much bench space here, so I apologize. I'm going to shuffle around a little bit on you. I'm going to tip this out and you can see there, beautiful stir fry. All the veggies are intact. I'm going to tip it out, a beautiful marinade in the bottom. This is going to be a fantastic one for us to have over the weekend. Might not last the weekend. And I've got evenly cut up carrots. They're the most even carrots I've cooked with in a very long time. Tell you, I certainly don't chop my carrots that even.
Jo, while you're serving up, can I just give you some feedback on the hosts and the guests checking in?
Yes.
So what I've noticed, when all my hosts checked in as a host and all their guests checked in, when I checked the details in the hub, all the guests are marked as attended, but the hosts were not. Okay. So then I've got my hosts now to go back and mark themselves attended as a guest, and now they're appearing as checked in the hub. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking if you have 2 hosts on tonight that want to get the cutter, they might need to follow that check-in link and like submit it again as just a guest, like not tick there's a little tick box at the top that says I'm a host. But I noticed when they did that, it's not marking them as attended in the hub, which is where we need to generate the host reward for them. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'm not sure whether that's a deal or not.
We get off.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries.
Beautiful. And thanks for bearing with us, guys. This is certainly us getting the hang of this new system as well. So thank you for bearing with us with that one. We'll get that all sorted and we'll get your host rewards out for you. But this is our stir fry all finished. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts overall on the stir fry, pizza dough, the cutter? Was there anything that surprised you or anything that blew you away? The thinness was impressive. Awesome. Yeah, Julianne, good for salads. You want one? Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Can you please smell it? I wish. I wish. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So that is a brief little deal there of the cutter and what it can do. Yeah, if you're wanting to get yourself a cutter and you weren't set up tonight with 2 guests on, so what we need to do is the only way to currently get a cutter is by hosting a demo. You can do this between now and the end of February. You can do this in person. You can be joining another Zoom similar to this. We have a face-to-face one at Warhope in a couple of weeks. We're looking to possibly have one in Tari and Foster as well, if we can get the venues and everything all secured as well, towards that last 3rd or 4th week of January. But you can always host a little demo in your own home as well. It basically looks something similar to this. We'll cook 2 or 3 different dishes. We can showcase the cutter so you can have a little play with it. You have a couple of friends over for lunch or for dinner or however you might have it. They all get hands-on, have a play with the Thermomix, have a cook as well. You get to learn a little bit about your machine, learn some extra things, try some new dishes, and get your cutter that way. The cutter later in the year will be coming to the mix shop, so you'll have the option then just to jump on and purchase it when you're ready. It's going to retail for about $200. So currently, the only way that you can get it is at a host reward, and that is tiered basically 2 ways. So that means that just for hosting, just for having 2 of your friends come along, you can get the cutter for $159. So you're going to save about $40 off that retail price. If one of your friends decides they want to get a Thermomix, then you're going to get that cutter for free. So if you have any friends who have been maybe looking at a Thermomix or that you think would really benefit from having one in their kitchen, have a chat with your consultant and line it up so they can come along to a demo or jump onto a Zoom or a little FaceTime. They can see the Thermomix for themselves, and they decide to go ahead and get it, then you can pick yourself up that cutter for free as well. So that is how it's going to work. Have a chat to your consultant if you didn't have that lined up for tonight. And as I mentioned earlier, our current little gift with purchase is when you buy a Thermomix, you're going to get that vacuum seal container and wand as well, which is pretty cool. For those of you who already have one, you can jump onto the mix shop and you can pick up your vacuum seals and all of your other stuff in the mix shop if you haven't checked it out for a little while. Awesome. So for both Cheryl and Susan, if you guys can stay on for a minute, I'm going to finish off our recording